Today we're actually going to look at infrasound. Often talk about within the paranormal field. So we're actually going to look at what infrasound is. Can it be recorded? Can it be measured? And can it be manipulated? So what is infrasound? If we take the human spectrum itself, that operates within the 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Anything below 20 hertz or over 20,000 hertz we cannot hear. Often people think, well, yeah, I'm fine up to 20,000 hertz. Well, in fact, that's not quite true. One of the first frequencies that gets damaged as we get older is your high end frequency. Your low end frequency responses tend to be pretty well okay. So if you go to see an audiologist where you suspect some problems are with hearing, you will always find that if you've got a problem with your hearing, it's the high end to getting towards the 12 to 14, 16,000 hertz range. There'd be very few of us that can listen up to about 20,000 hertz. Most of us are around about 16, 17,000, and we do differ. So that's as far as the frequency responses that a human can hear or be reasonably expected to hear. So you can slice quite a bit, 4,000 hertz off the end of that 20,000 hertz, because it'd be unlikely that you're going to be able to go up to that extreme unless you're somebody like a child that's got fresh ears. 5 or 6 year old child will have better hearing on that range than a human will, particularly when they're over 40. The ultrasound is frequencies over 20,000 hertz. Some breeds of dogs can go up to about 60,000 hertz. Dolphins, it's suggested, can go up to 160,000 hertz. And the reasons why they're on that ultrasound wave, that they're able to pass messages from one dolphin to the next over hundreds of miles. And from a paranormal point of view, I've never believed that a dog or a cat, for example, is seeing things that we cannot see. I accept some breeds of cat can deal with small amounts of ultraviolet light, which allows them to see in the dark better. But as far as daylight's concerned, they have no better eyesight than we do. It's the hearing side, they can hear stuff. So that's why I've always believed, from a paranormal point, animals, it's down to sound and not visual. Below 20,000 hertz, that's what you call the base frequency. And it's the most powerful area of actual sound. So this is the bit that we're interested in. It just covers a small area of just 20 hertz. That's it. But you're not going to hear it. No different to ultrasound. Ultrasound itself doesn't actually get used that much or gets produced that much within industry, in science in general. So we tend to be dealing with from 0 to 20,000 hertz. Even though up to about 20 hertz, you're not going to be able to hear it. So that's what we're actually going to deal with today, is the infrasound spectrum, not the ultrasound. Okay, right. So what can cause infrasound? This is where things get a little bit complex. Here's a list of particular reasons that you might get infrasound. What you need to bear in mind with this is that if you want a microphone, so you've got a microphone or a smartphone, you may have an audible recorder, that type of thing. The microphones are built to have a frequency response between 20 hertz and 20,000 hertz. That's what it's looking to record from. There will be a little bit of overflow there, and what I mean by that, the microphone's going to pick up 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 hertz. It's never an exact number. Once you get into the lower numbers, down to like 5 to 10 hertz, then the microphone simply just isn't going to pick it up because it's not built for that frequency response. Okay. What we do know about is we're talking about a sound, but a sound that you cannot hear. So, for example, a meteor entering the atmosphere is travelled probably 30, 40, maybe 50,000 miles per hour, incredible speed. It's producing high levels of infrasound. You're just not going to hear it. The only time when you hear it is when it bangs on the floor and explodes. Then you will hear it. Rockets, that type of thing, anything that's using these types of frequencies, and quite a common one. It is now in the UK, particularly those around the Royal Air Force air bases, is supersonic aircraft. When an aircraft passes just over 762 miles an hour, which is what they call the sound barrier, you will get the sonic boom. This is this crack of sound as the aircraft passes, the sound that it's projecting. So once it goes past that, it breaks the sound barrier, you get this sonic boom. The boom is so powerful that if an aircraft, for example, is 10, 15 miles away and breaks the sound barrier, it can shatter your windows. So we're talking about high levels of power, even though we're talking about a sound, it's of higher vibration, them lower vibration levels that shatters your windows. And what you need to bear in mind is that you don't hear it. Okay, so when we come to that in a few moments, you'll understand. Storms, that type of thing, volcanic activity produce high levels of volumes of infrasound. Okay. Well, let's go back to it ourselves now. Let's talk about EQ. EQ is always going to cover the spectrum that we deal with. Okay, so what you see here is 20 hertz, 25, 31, 40, all the way up to 20k. It's not dealing with any frequency that it can't hear, or in principle you might be able to see it, as we'll go into shortly, but you cannot hear it. So if you get an EQ, a graphic EQ, it's just going from 20 to 20,000 hertz. It's not going to go from 0. So if you've got a frequency of infrasound within your audio, you're not going to get rid of it. Okay? So that's as far as EQ is concerned. When it comes to actually analysing infrasound, it's a little bit easier. It's not over complicated to measure infrasound. Okay, just bring the analyzer up. Okay. So on the meter itself, there's 50. We can probably say that's about 30. That's going to be 20. And this small section here will be your infrasound side of things. This will register infrasound. There's not much sound that comes in after 20,000 hertz. You can get some sort of high-end bleed, which some microphones can be susceptible to, and it's normally through either damaged electronics or damage to the microphone. You get this little peak of little frequency that sneaks in, but predominantly you're dealing with as far as what we're dealing with is 0 to 20,000 hertz. So let's take a look at one of them. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go straight into 18 hertz. Okay, that's 18 hertz, often called the horror frequency. Without question, some people will say 18.7, 19.2, 18.3, that type of thing is the better frequency. But 18 hertz isn't just 18 hertz is a straight line. there is always a little left and right frequency. So 18 hertz, for example, may cover 15 to about 21, sometimes 23 hertz. So you will get a little bit overthrow into it, but it's the fundamental frequency of 18 hertz, which we'll talk about in a second, which is important, and you're not going to hear it. Okay, you're not going to hear it. I read various articles with regard to horror films where, when the sound engineers put the video together, they will often apply infrasound into the audio, because what it does do, it triggers a part of the brain which will offer up the fight, what they call the fight or flight mode, where the reason why they call it the horror frequency. So, for example, if you're out on your own at night in the dark and you're suddenly faced with danger, say someone who's going to rob you, may have a weapon, your brain immediately around that 18 hertz area will trigger either I'm going to fight you or I'm going to take flight, the fight or flight. Put that into a horror perspective of a movie, and it will work to make you more frightened, and you moved into that, do I put my hands over my eyes, because the movie on a TV is not going to cause you any harm, so you will tend to put your hands over your ears, or, which is always an interesting one, when people are watching something waiting for the knife murderer to come out of the dark, you put your hands over your ears. So that gets put into or the suggestion is it's in there. Anyway, back to 18 hertz. What I'm actually going to do now, I'm actually going to turn the volume down. Okay, this is the main volume, this is the track volume, and I'm going to turn a little bit up. Now, what I strongly advise that you don't do is don't put headphones on. Do not use headphones. If you're using a smartphone, okay, just use them speakers, but make sure you've got control of your volume. Have it at about a quarter on, something like that. So just take a second just to find out where your volume is and get it down to about 25%, because although you're not going to hear this, we're going to be dealing with high volumes of signal. Okay, and if you push that through your ears at high volumes, you'll damage your earrings, even though you don't hear it. So hopefully you've now done that. Okay, you're going to hear nothing anyway. I've got the volume off anyway, but you're not going to hear anything. You can see in the track now that all that is full of signal. We can immediately look onto the analyzer and we can see this stream of frequency. Okay, now you might say, well, it's down there about 120 hertz. I can hear. No, you won't. It's just not loud enough to be able for that to happen. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'll start it back up, keep it playing, and I'm now going to turn the main volume up. I'm not going that high. You can see it increasing. That is incredibly high. Okay. I'm now just going to stop it for a second. We don't hear anything. Now, what I'm now going to do, I'm going to put a sample into a track. Just bear me a second, I'll just find something. That'll do. Nice drum beat. Oops, I'll just go back to the beginning. Get rid of that. Okay, what I've done, I'm going to solo, so only that track plays. Okay, I'll turn that volume down. There's the drum. at all. Okay. So if we're just dealing with this sound file here, the top one with this drum beat, I'll turn it down a little bit. Now if you look at the level of that, you can see how high that is. So we're talking about -5, nearly on maximum, and onto the infrasound, it's about the same volume, yet you don't hear it. Okay, it's quite important that you do not hear it. Okay, so can we manipulate it? The answer to that is yes, we can. And the way to deal with that is by changing the pitch. Pitch is in a way, musical terms, a pitch will be defined as a key of A, key of E, and so on and so forth. This is going to sound quite bassy anyway, irrespective, because of the frequency it's in. So it's going to sound more like an opera singer than what it would do Kate Bush, if that makes sense. Okay, so back to beginning, I'm just going to play it. Now what I'm actually going to do then, I'm going to adjust the pitch. Now keep an eye, you'll be able to hear it anyway eventually. You'll start to see the frequency move to the right, the fundamental frequency, which is this area here. Okay, you'll start to see it changing, and then at some point you should be able to hear a buzzing sound. Once I hear that, I'll just turn the volume up a touch. Don't have your volume on high. Okay. The reason why it's not changed, I selected the wrong one. Right, okay, start again. Right, okay. You should just now be able to hear a bit of buzzing. And you're getting all this weird, strange frequency that's been picked up with it as well. And we've gone to plus 16 semitones, which is quite... There we go. Try to resist turning it up. We've still got a phenomenal amount of low end infrasound in there, but because we've shifted the pitch over to the right, we're now beginning to pick that sound up. You can see it's moved there to around about, say, 70 Hz, but we can certainly hear it. And as we turn up louder, okay, with it's going to drag the little noises and stuff, like a bit of crackling, which is what this is. I think it's just due to the signal. That's all the reason why it's picking this background feedback in a way, really. And I'll go the opposite way now. I'll take it back to the left. And eventually the sound will disappear completely. So we can measure infrasound, okay? What I want to do now, I want to show you how to remove it, okay? This is where it becomes more problematic. So I'm going to keep the volume down quite low. I suggest that you don't have your volume up very low. You only just need to just about hear this, because we're talking about high volumes here. Right, let me bring EQ up. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put that back to how it was before, plus 24, so we can hear it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is drop these frequencies out. Okay, So starting from the right to left, we'll take them all out. It's only till we come after 1,000 hertz and under that you begin to see that disappear. And vice versa, you start to see the other disappear. Okay, I'm actually going to go now from left to right, because what you'll start to notice in the closer it gets to this, the frequency will begin to deplete. And it's gone, you can't hear anything at all now. But you've got a shed load of frequency still in there. The sound frequency is still there, and you can't get rid of it. It's always going to be there. And again, the same as if I play that high volume, you can actually hear it there now. Mainly because I've turned it up to 24. Okay, it's still there. And there's nothing you can do around that. If I put that back to 0, you won't hear anything. The signal is still there, still got it in there, and in principle we shouldn't have anything, but you've still got under the 20,000 hertz because I haven't got an EQ that'll go down there. I don't think you can even get one, not as far as I'm aware anyway. And the frequency is still there, still present, and in quite high volumes as well. Okay, I think that just about covers the infrasound. It's always around us. It's something from a paranormal perspective, quite important. It come in more and more over recent times when people have suggested that infrasound is partially responsible for some paranormal phenomena. In other words, if infrasound is being played in a room, the person will begin to feel uneasy because of the hollow frequency that it's using. There's probably some sort of truth in that. You know, some buildings do feel a little bit more weirder than the others, but I think a lot of it is due to the fact that with any sort of spiritual activity there has to be an energy involved, and there's an energy involved. The energy should be able to be measured, and if there's energy involved in there, there's always a frequency that's within it. You know, we talk, and when we talk, we're using energy to transfer the sound, and we actually manipulate our voice. You take somebody like Harry Enfield, he can duplicate a voice of different famous, you know, royalty, whatever. And he manipulates the frequency that way. So, hope that's of interest to you. So the answer is, can we measure infrasound? Yes, we can. Can we manipulate it? Yeah, we can change the pitch. Quite simply, if you've got infrasound recorded, you can use the same method. So if you've got this frequency there, let me just go for an average here, so it stays there. If you've got a frequency there, you'll be able to do so much with it, of taking it into the frequency range that we can hear it. You're not getting rid of it, all you're doing is changing the pitch, the actual pitch yourself, and you begin to hear. Because it contains all this weird, strange bass frequency, you're not going to manipulate it where it's going to suddenly begin to sound like a voice. That won't happen. It'll just go like a buzzy sound. This is what you've heard before when we change the pitch onto it. Just try that again, and you'll hear the low buzz hum sound. Oops, I've gone the wrong way. There we go, there's the buzz back. Okay. Right. Movie complete. See you soon.